Okay, let me do something else. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear us?
All right,
Yes.
let's get started. Good morning and welcome to the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology's board meeting. The date is June 17th, 2024. The time is 9:01 a.m. We are going to get started. Let's start with a roll call from our Southern office, please, for the board members.
Board Member Gentry.
Board Member Moreno.
Board Member Douglas here.
Board Member Harris here.
Board Member O'Brien.
Chief Compliance Officer Janie Huggins. Lauren Gossage, Regulatory Compliance Specialist. Bertha Jackson, Chief Operating Officer.
Thank you. And can we get a roll call from our Northern office, please?
Board Member Jeffers, present.
Thank you.
Service specialist present.
Thank you so much. All right, the mission of the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of those that obtain cosmetology-related services through the delivery of quality testing, licensing, inspection, and education services that focus on consumer protection. At this time, we will open it for comments from the general public. The board will entertain comments from the general public for any item that is related to the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology. Members of the public can call into the meeting to make public comments by dialing 1-720-707-2699 and entering 834-5411-4223 for the meeting ID. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and no discussion or action can be taken during public comment. Do we have any public comments at this time? Any comments for the board? All right, there'll be another opportunity for comments at the end. So let's go ahead and move on to approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. The board is to approve minutes from April 22nd, 2024 board meeting. Can I have a motion, please?
Board Member Harris, I would like to approve the minutes for April 22nd, 2024.
Awesome. Can I have a second, please?
This Board Member Douglas, I second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, at this time, we're going to start with our petitions. So petitioner 1 is Gwen Bramo and Roxanne McCoy. I list all of this. Do you want me to list all of this?
Well, no, you don't have to go through, it's pretty listed out there.
Okay.
Start
The petitioner. Okay, awesome. Petitioners are asking for a variance to a few NACs, so we are going to get started with that. Ms. Bramo, the floor is yours. Would you like to tell us why you're here today?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I need to get you sworn in. Thank you. Yes, thank you. All right, if you'll raise your right hand, we'll get you sworn in.
All right. Morning, Ms. Bramo.
Good morning.
You do solemnly affirm this is pursuant to NRS 50.035 oath and affirmation. You do solemnly affirm that the evidence you shall give in this petition shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth by saying I do.
I do.
Okay. Is Roxanne McCoy going to be also testifying?
Yes, she will.
Okay. I'm just going to get this out of the way, Madam President. Just going to swear her in as
Yes,
well.
of course. Ms. McCoy, are you present?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, could you please raise your right hand and we'll get you sworn in as well? Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. McCoy.
Good morning.
You do solemnly affirm that the evidence you shall give in this petition shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth by saying I do.
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. At this time, if you'd like to tell us, walk us through your petition.
Okay, so there's several different NACs and NRSs, so I don't know where you want me to begin, but I can start off at the first one. I'm sure if you guys have that in your packet.
Yes.
So Expertise New Path is requested. We requested the emergency board meeting because we had 16 individuals that were selected by New Path and the Nevada Department of Corrections to be approved for the cosmetology program. And this selection, I believe it took place in March. So what Roxanne, I wanted her to share a little bit more about what actually happens when the participants are already selected, because there's a whole process that the state takes them through. And she can kind of give you more information about them not being able to program, them not being able to do anything once they're selected.
So good morning, board. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak to you this morning about the New Path program. I'm Roxanne McCoy, and I oversee this program for expertise. When the ladies are selected, I work with the director of programs here at Florence McClure Women's Correctional Facility, and we post the opportunity here for 30 days for the ladies to apply to be a part of the program. Once the ladies have applied to be a part of the program, we have a general aptitude testing that they go through. And then once they complete the aptitude testing, depending on what they score, they are selected to be a part, they are selected to go on to the next portion of it, which we do a one-on-one interview with them, along with the assistant warden, their programs director, and myself, to talk to them about why they want to be a part of this program and what this program will do to change their lives in the future. Once that has taken place, that board and I make the selections of the students that we feel would be best suited to go through this program and have the time remaining on their sentence to complete the program while they're inside here. Once that is done, then we have a petition to appear that we send over to state board. And the ladies all fill out a letter as to why this program would be important and how it would impact their lives in the future moving forward. All those things are then sent over to the state board. The executive director has the ability to approve some depending on their offenses, and then the others will then have to go before you all, which is the Board of Cosmetology, which we have done several times before. All the times have been successful. I'm not really sure what's taken place on this one. We've been implementing this program in partnership with Florence McClure, as well as Nevada State Board of Cosmetology since 2017. And it's been an amazing program in impacting women's lives, as well as our community in which they are released into. And so before we go too much further, I know there's a part on the agenda, Gwen, if we don't mind, is that I have like 15 to 18 ladies in the room next to us. If we could maybe just do this portion for them so they can be excused back to their medical and canteen and things that they need to do that was on the schedule for this morning. And then we can continue on with the rest of our NRSs that we are talking about with them.
Okay, and then I just wanted to share too, board, that once these ladies are selected, they're no longer able to do any other programming.
Correct.
So they have to sit out and they have to just wait. They cannot receive the work credits that they actually receive being a part of the program. So these ladies were selected, I believe, in March, around March, or was it March or April?
End of March. March. It was the end of
Okay, so
March.
they were selected in March. So that means they didn't get any work credits. They weren't able to do any other additional programming. So this is kind of like the work credits give them time off their sentencing for being, level 1 participants at the Florence McClure Correctional Facility. So they have actually lost about March, April, May. They've lost a couple months of work credits. So this is the reason why it was important that we scheduled for an emergency meeting to get these individuals selected. So if we could come up with a system today, I would appreciate that we can come up, because we don't enroll normally. The last enrollment was almost 2 years ago. So if we can come up with a system, I'm asking the board today so that we don't have to have emergency meetings. We can come up with some type of system where these ladies won't be wasting time, just dead time sitting doing nothing. So we can go ahead now with the next portion of it. That's fine.
So the aim is to try to really get through the meat and potatoes of the variances that are being requested, DAC for the record, as they are quite a lot. So my recommendation would be, if there's any more argument offered by either Ms. Bramo or her colleague on this program, to give that so that board staff has the opportunity to respond. Because there's quite an extensive agenda. We want to make sure we have enough time to really get through all of the requested variances.
Okay. Do you guys want to continue talking about this portion, or are you finished up with for that?
Well, if this portion has to do with, Gwen Bramo for the record, if this portion has to do with the process, then we can continue. So if it does, I'm willing to continue with that, because I think this is some of the big gap that we're experiencing that we've never experienced before. And so, you know, I know that there was a new system. I know I kind of heard that Pearson View system was in the works for 2021, but at that time, I was aware of it, but we weren't aware of the actual system because we didn't have to. And I know that staff remains the same. And it was said in the past that, you know, we had less staff members, but it doesn't really seem to be, but that's not my portion of it. But what my concern is the documents that we've always had to submit. There's a document there that I supplied in my petition, said the petition to appear before the board, that we have filled out, and we've always submitted that same particular document. And I do understand that as time takes place, you know, there's changes and we have to adapt to those changes, which is not a problem. So once we submitted this petition to appear, then we were told that Roxanne and I believe it was Roxanne and Jessica, she's been a register for us since 2008. So we were told that there were some additional documents that needed to be submitted. We submitted the additional documents. It was one document board after another. I mean, and to the point where I tried to not get involved in what they do, because this is what they do and they've done it directly with the board staff for many of years. So I tried to stay in the background and let them do, and was told whatever the changes are, we're willing to make those changes, and we did that. After a while, I sent an email to Erica, and if she can speak, that's fine today, about what is it that we're doing wrong? What is it that you're not getting from us that we need to get because of the new system? I understand there was a new system. So I requested a meeting for some technical support. I said, at this time, we need technical support. We got the technical support. I thought everything went well. The meeting went well, and we were okay with it. Jessica continued to submit documents. They kept getting kickback with those documents. So to me now, it's a barrier. What are the barriers that we need to be able to overcome so that we can continue to move forward with this program? So I'm kind of speaking ahead because it's still kind of like related to the same thing about the girls, because it's the documents that we're talking about. Am I correct?
Remember, if I may, I think what will be also prudent, given the fact that it's related to a petition, we've already had them laid out, cross-referencing the petition that was submitted with how it's listed on the agenda. As part of your presentation, to also help explain to the board why the justification for requesting the particular variances, because that's what they need to hear as part of argument.
Okay.
Why in particular you guys are requesting the variances as listed through E1 all the way through the second page, all the way through the third page until we reach E2. So I think they just need to hear that argument on your end, and then the board staff will respond as to the justification for each of the variants.
Okay, so I guess I'm in the right direction, talking about, okay.
I would recommend line by line, just because every regulation is different. So just a justification for the request for the variances.
Okay, so let's go to, because let me just kind of get this. Okay, so we were asking for those students that was waiting to be enrolled, be approved. Okay, and so this is, I can move forward now. I'm kind of like understanding where we are with this. So once we submitted those documents, we had the technical assistance meeting, and after the technical assistant meeting, we were under the impression that the documents were submitted to where they were going to be acceptable. Somehow they kept getting kicked back. I mean, there's no direct contact besides an email that Roxanne or Jessica could reach Erica actually to find out, so we can like, okay, we keep getting a kickback, 3 at a time, 4 at a time. I mean, it was just like every other day there was a kickback. So, and then we received another email just to notify us that all the documents had to be in color. You know, the driver's license, whatever passport documents, social security cards, those things actually comes from the Nevada Department of Corrections. And I want the board to understand today where we're coming from, they're not going to be in color. Okay, the Department of Corrections is not going to submit documents to the Nevada Board of Cosmetology in color. So I don't know where that directive, if it came from the board, I would like for us to be able to address that today. So I kind of put that email there. So with that one being said, and I know that in the end, we did finally get all the documents submitted. And then once the documents were submitted by Roxanne McCoy, then we got an email back stating that we needed to do it all over again because there was like a computer glitch or something that happens. And I do understand things do happen, but if my impression and our impression and the Nevada Department of Corrections impression is that we're all working together. So if we're working together and we submit the final documents and there's a glitch and we have to take hours and hours to resubmit every single document again, without even an apology,
Well, if I may, and I'm sorry, Gwen, I think that everything that Gwen is saying is just absolutely accurate. Another addition, in addition to that, once I've submitted and we've uploaded all that information, I never knew that it was rejected. The only way I knew it was rejected is that I sent an email because, again, Erica's the only one there that refuses to give her phone number. She says that we could just email because she's never at her desk. But sometimes it's easier to just communicate in person, just to kind of like understand what are we doing, what's going on, and walk me through this, versus you send an email and then you get back to it hours or days later. But I never was even informed that it was rejected until it was like a long gap in between that time. And I followed up with an email saying, hey, what's going on? And then it's like, oh yeah, that was rejected. And it was like, where is the communication at? Where is the common just respect for the program? And we understand that this is a unique program and it's not going to fall under the same protocols of normal people that are on the outside. And so we're trying to give these ladies a second chance, a second opportunity. But in doing so, the prison has certain requirements that we have to adhere to. And then the state board has certain requirements that we have to adhere to. And we're trying to say, okay, let's see how we can marry them together so that it could be effective and efficient for everyone involved. And so that we don't have to have these issues. If there's new policies and procedures that need to be followed, which were before, they gave me and said, okay, nobody can start class until all this is done. And I think at the last board meeting that was brought up, that I had with you all. It's like, understand, respect it, and it will not go that way anymore, even though previously it was okay. And so I followed that protocol, but now here I am almost 3 months later, just trying to get an approval for these women to start a class to better their lives.
Just because I want to just ensure that that the board has everything that it needs to render a decision. We understand I'm sure the board understands completely the aim and the purpose behind the program, and of course the benefits of the said program for purposes of the petition, to just address what's listed on the agenda and explain why that would not be feasible to comply and why those regulations are entitled to the variance. The board has to hear that in order to determine whether or not to either grant in entirety, deny in entirety, or grant in part or deny in part the petition. It needs to hear the arguments justifying the variance or why certain compliance is not, for some of these regulations listed as not feasible, and how that's still not potentially a threat to the public, or what you're willing to offer in response to that, if unable to comply with the regulation. Because the board still has to hear that, given the number of variances that is being requested on the petition. So in order to entertain whether or not to grant or deny, the board needs to hear those arguments before it's submitted to board staff for their response.
Okay, so Gwen Bramo for the record. So I think with this particular variance, I think we're here. For the first one is to request for the students to be heard today, to be approved, to be able to be heard today by the board, to be able to start their class. And with that petition to variance, I think we're asking if the board could come up with some other alternative method. I know the documents have to be submitted. We don't have a problem with that. Hopefully the computer glitch issue has been taken care of now from the last time, because it took a little while for us to get here for the emergency meeting. So I think with the first one, Attorney AG, I think it's because I think I don't want to get it confused. I want us to maybe stick with is it possible that we stick with the 664A 690 for these individuals to be heard as to be approved to attend school? And we're asking the board to come up with maybe some other ways to means that every 2 years or every other year or so, once we start a class, do we have to request for an emergency meeting if it's only 4 meetings a year? I'm not quite sure how we could work this out, because it's like 4 board meetings a year. And in 2 years, if the class starts in the February, we ended a class in December, we start a new class in February, but the meeting is not till April. How do we come up with a solution?
Madam Chair, this is Steve McDonald for the record. Dag Harris, I guess, keeps trying to emphasize that we need to go through each of these variances one by one.
So it's all
And-
down to interrupt, but I'll just add in. So the first one that's.
Okay, I'm in. Oh, Roberts is on.
So let's start with the first one. It says NAC 644A690 requirements for practical examination. It says in taking a practical examination, an applicant must appear in a clean, washable garment and furnish such supplies, model, and equipment as may be designated by the board. This is the first regulation that's listed on the petition for which there is a variance being requested. The board would need an explanation as to why the variance is being requested.
And this is
what aspect of this regulation do you need changed or modified, or why you're requesting that? That's what
okay,
I
so
mean
my
by-
question
yeah.
is that the right actual regulation for what we're requesting? Because I mean, when we were looking through the regulations, the only thing I could find was the felony to petition the board. So what regulation is that one? Because I think that's the issue at hand right now for that first particular regulation, is for those individuals to be able to come before the board to get approval or not approval to begin their program.
So when we read the petition, it has listed regulations in a dash. So that's the inference that from this regulation all the way through this end of these regulations, we're asking for a variance. So if some of these regulations listed on your petition do not apply for your request today, that's important to clarify for the board. So if it's only a certain number of regulations you're asking for the variance, that's important to clarify for the board and say, no, I'm really only asking for this specific.
Gwen
But
Bramall,
as
for
a
the record,
precaution, yeah.
excuse me, but deputy, it's been changed. There's no dash there. So I don't know if you guys have the updated information, but we took the dash out. That was all revised.
And this is for your petition, because I'm looking at 5/29/24 revised, and it still has a dash there. So I want to make sure. I'm sure, I don't know if we can pull that up.
Roxanne McCoy for the record. We had no issues with practical because we administer the practical inside the facility and all those rules were followed. Our issue became with the written test as that test went to online with Pearson View and we did not have access to that and was not aware that Pearson View, there's some challenges with that. So the practical, there is no issue with how we administer the practical exam within the facility, and there's nothing that needs to be changed on that.
Yeah, so how there's still dashes there on the request for.
But if you look at the second page, the attachment to appear,
Mhm.
it states, we revised it because once I did receive the long list and I'm like, okay, no, that's not what I'm asking, the dash in between.
Okay, so
Thank you, Lauren, for that.
So just to confirm, this second page is the full content of your petition?
Yes.
Nothing else? Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. So NAC 644A610. NRS 644A475. NAC 644A600 and NAC 644A603.
So that's the reason why Gwen Bramall, for the record, that's kind of like the reason why I kind of tried to break it down because it was me trying to figure out, us together trying to figure out exactly which regulation related to what we were requesting. That we were first requesting the 16 individuals to be heard.
Okay.
So that we can move forward with that so that they can begin their program, the ones that's approved today.
Okay, so the only other component that carries for the record, and I'll let everybody get their variance before I add on to that. So the main things that, excuse me, the main regulations that appear to be in contention that can be entitled for a variance are NAC 644A610, 600, and 603. NRS 644A475 is a statute, and the board doesn't have authority to grant a variance on a statute. It only has authority to grant a variance on a regulation. That's the only thing.
So which one, excuse me, Gwen Bramall, for the record again. So which one was that, the NA, because all of them had NACs to them, so I'm not quite sure where we are now.
So the number 2 says NRS 644A475, not to be confined to any special system or method. Then NRS 644-250, and then NAC 644A270, which that could also probably, only the NACs could be in contention or in submission for a possible variance. So I'll restate the list again. NAC 644A610. On number 2, NAC 644A270. From number 3, NAC 644A600 and NAC 644A603. Those are the 4 regulations that the board has the authority, if considering today, to grant a variance on. Listed on the revised petition, NRS 644A475, the board does not have authority to grant a variance because it's a statute and not a regulation. And so the board is required to comply with the legislative intent of a statute. Only on a regulation can the board consider a variance.
Gwen Bramo for the record. I'm confused now because I don't see a NAC. I don't see a NRS on anything that I submitted last.
So right here on on the revised sheet that you said, it says NRS 644A475.
Okay. Well, we can talk about the NAC, right?
Correct.
Okay,
All the
All right.
NACs are fair
Okay.
game, just the NRS. is-
Okay.
Yeah,
I had to resubmit this a couple times, so
no problem.
not a problem.
So I think it would be helpful before diverting off to board staff for their response for.
Us to continue.
Yeah, NAC
Okay.
for NAC 644A. Oh, you also have 942.
Mhm.
All right, so NAC 644A 940, 610, 250, 270, 600, and 603. Those are the variances that you're requesting. Explain to
Okay.
the board the justification for the variance.
Awesome. Okay, not a problem. So we've already, I think we've kind of been, I don't want to keep like beating a dead horse when it comes down to what we're here for from the beginning. We discussed that with the students waiting to be heard today. Gwen Bramo for the record. The second, well, I had it numbered as 1 and we were there already for number 0. I mean, it's from the top. So number 1, expertise is requesting the board to assist in eliminating the barriers submitting documents for the new pass students in the portal. Students enrolled in the general population normally has to submit their documents, certain documents to the registrars, but we were actually told that the documents needed to be submitted to the state board. And I'm asking the board to treat New Path cosmetology program as a actual school, even though it's located inside the Florence McClure Correctional Facility, we still hold the same license as all the other schools throughout the state. So if those documents have to be, if those documents are submitted to registrars, we would like for our documents to be submitted to registrars as well. And this is when I attach that extra email. And I think we kind of put it 1 to show that, you know, requesting things in color and it's just, we want to be treated as a school. We're a school, we want to be treated as a school. We don't want to be treated as, it's a program. It is a program located inside Florence McClure Correctional Facility, but it's a school that holds the same license as every school in the state. So I can move on to the number 2. And I kind of looked at it not being confined to any special system or method. In the past, and I know past is the past, and we're moving towards the future. We're in the future. We're here. We're in the now. So, but moving forward, I'm asking the board to help eliminate the barrier of, we have graduates that graduated our program. They graduated, some graduated in December. 1 graduated, I believe, December of 2023. Some graduated February and March, and they still haven't been able to actually take their written exam. So the ones that have been released, I think there's 3 that's been released, have taken their written exam at Pearson VUE. I think what I want the board to understand today, and I thought this was already an understanding because we had this relationship in the past, where the staff would go inside the Florence McClure Correctional Facility and test the students' paper test. Because the state has all kinds of guidelines and restrictions for internet, these individuals can't just get on computers and take an exam. So in the past, from 2017, I think was our first exam, it was always done with the written paper exam. We found out, I think in December, that Pearson VUE, unfortunately, does not have a paper exam. So what we're asking today is that it's now June, and those individuals that graduated in February and March still have not taken their written exam. The purpose of the program is to be able to help these individuals be able to leave. Some individuals are released into Nevada's population under probation and parole. Some individuals are released under probation and parole to their hometowns. So if they don't take their written exam, when they're transferred out of the facility and they go into whatever state that may be, there's no reciprocity. They would have to take an exam to be able to become licensed instead of just getting a reciprocity. So the board has, once we found out, a couple months later that we weren't going to be able to take the paper exam into the facility, we have since applied to Pearson VUE to become a testing site. Well, I have put some emails in there to show Pearson VUE saying this is the first time we've ever done this. We've ever given authority to a site to become a mobile site, because we have to now apply to become a mobile site because the internet, the state has not given approval for Florence McClure Correctional Facility to have internet access to students. That might happen next year. So we're applying to become, and hopefully we're in the final stages of being able to, they're republishing the exam in the process so that we can put them on laptops, be able to take them into the facility so that the individuals can take their written exam. When that's going to happen, we don't know. I don't think anybody knows at this point. So what Expertise New Path is asking the board, is there any way that we could create a one-time paper test for those individuals that has been waiting for the last couple of months to take their written exam so that they can be licensed, so that they can be released? Because a part of the program is they forfeit their release to complete the program. So if an individual was in the process of being released in January, they sign off on being released until their program is completed. So I don't know if this was understood by the board, and maybe we need to maybe have more conversation and more dialogue so that we can all be on the same page to be able to say, okay, we're here to give everybody a second chance because we all deserve one. So I'm not quite sure how the board wants to be able to handle that. If there's something that they can do, we're asking for that today as well. And I think the last one was the NAC 6648600, NAC 664-03, that we were granted a license in 2016, being the first cosmetology school to open in the correctional facility due to some legislative law changes as well. Along with being approved with several variances, there was a variance for equipment, and there was a variance for square footage inside the facility. We were also told, and I did get the copy of the minutes, but so I want to make sure that we discuss this today with the board so that moving forward, whether it's Expertise New Path or any other school that decides to go into that facility after us, we get this clear. That if we could get cleared the variance for the equipment to continue, the variance for the space to continue, the variance for the amount of students that we have the capacity to actually train. And also we're requesting to offer not just cosmetology, there's short-term individuals in the facility as well. So we would like to be able to offer the other programs that's available to all the other school licensees as well. So if any other questions for me, I'm right here. Any other questions for Ms. Roxanne? She's there, and I will let you guys do what you do.
Thank you. At this time, I think we should hear from board staff.
Yes, Madam Chair, Steve
I'm
McDonald for
so
the record.
sorry, Stephen. Could we just take 1 minute just to finish up some notes? I noticed that some people are still writing. if
Sure,
that's okay.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
That way we can just finish this before going forward.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're ready. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Yes, Madam Chair, Steve McDonald for the record. I will give a brief summary of where we're at with the New Path program. And then we actually have a slideshow that will go through from board staff's perspective of where we're at and what has been approved there um, as compared to what other schools provide. And what variances that we believe that they were granted in the cosmetology program itself. And we know that Ms. Bramo is requesting to have a nail program as well as an aesthetic program there along with her cosmetology program. So just for clarity from our perspective, there are a lot of questions that the board staff just doesn't have answers to of what is happening in that program. We have done inspections, but those inspections have been extremely limited because the prisons require us not to take anything in. We can't take our phones with our cameras on and take pictures like we do in normal regular schools outside the prison. We can't take do we take notepads in? We can't even take anything in. So it's very hard for us to do inspections. From what I've been informed as the executive director, that the inspections are clean. The prison is very, very clean, and the facility is very clean. There are no issues with sanitation or any infection control, any issues like that. But we did notice from the January meeting, we'll get to the enrollment process. But prior to that, in inspection, we had noticed that the location that we have for our for this program in the prison, I still call it a school, for that school in the prison has relocated to a different location. So we actually don't have square footage. We haven't done any looking at the requirements of equipment, sinks, things of that nature. And there were specific variances that were granted as part when Ms. Bramo's program, school
That's okay.
was approved. And she has copies of the minutes as well. We actually pointed her to those minutes and pointed her to the actual hearing where the former executive director Gary Landry succinctly said, this is what Ms. Bramo is asking for. And I'll just put this as on the record. They're asking for where you would only have 25 workstations. They will provide 6. 7 shampoo bowls, they will only provide 2. 5 hair dryers, they will only provide 2. This is actually from Gary Landry. They will provide 2 facial chairs. We'll provide 0 facial mannequins and should have 8 nail stations, but will only provide 2. And the students will be limited, number of students will be 12. Ms. Bramo testified at that hearing that there'd be 6 in the morning and 6 in the afternoon. It was passed by the board, that board 5-0 with 1 abstention, being most likely Ms. Bramo
I wasn't a board member at that time.
in 2016. So there was an exemption. So, but it was passed 5-0.
Okay.
So, but that's what we have. And just so for the record, so that the petitioner knows that we're not trying to pick on that school. We're going through all schools And I think Ms. Bramo knows this because we've been out to her other school. We're doing to all schools. There was an email that's part of the record that came from, I guess, Erica, a generic email that we were having trouble reading documents, and it went to everyone, all the schools. It didn't just go to Ms. Bramo, because we're having trouble reading the documents. And as you all know, as board members, we're dealing with a lot of fraud. So I don't understand why schools don't understand. We haven't gotten any pushback from other schools saying that, yeah, we understand that. We'll try to do our best. But it's a generic email that went out to everyone. It was not specifically just to Ms. Bramo and Ms. McCoy as a registrar. So that's what we generally want. But I have accepted the documents that for enrollment purposes from Ms. Bramos was a screenshot, screen printout of the Nevada Department of Corrections screen of that student / graduate. And that I have approved those. So I have worked with Ms. Bramo and Ms. McCoy on that, because the ones I could approve, I did. Others, I didn't, because they were more violent. And so that's why they were brought before you. But I have approved the ones that were nonviolent. And I think that they can attest to that. We got 25 or 26 of them at once from her school. And I went through all of them twice. That's my process. I always try to get more research. I actually do more than what's given to me. I actually do a little bit more research and find out what the circumstances were. So I think I approved 6 or 7 of them, and the rest are now before you. So I have accepted those screenshots. I can make that as part of the record. As Ms. Bramo and I did have a conversation with Nikki Haig, the Deputy Director of BNI, and I explained that I have accepted those documents in lieu of having a Social Security card, because I know that they don't have it. So I accepted what the Nevada Department of Corrections has on their website. There's always a disclaimer on websites because it's not always accurate. But I've accepted those and have reviewed those documents. So that was just one thing I wanted to point out on the email. So according from staff, that's what we have, 2016 at the hearing. We have the minutes of that. And that's what Gary Landry narrowed it down to actually what the board was approving at that time. So unfortunately for new board staff, we're talking 8 years later, we actually don't have a lot of information of what is happening in that school, except for our limited inspections. So we've done desk audits, we looked at the file. What do we have? So dealing with the enrollment issue that Ms. Bramo and Ms. McCoy are talking about, the barriers. As I stated before, and with prior meetings with Ms. Bramo, that she has a school outside the prison, and she does this process very well without incident. Typically, I think Jessica is your registrar out there, and there's no problem of putting the information in the portal. Every school has their own school portal in NVBOC, which is our computer system. So it works very well there. If there are some differences that or processes with new path that need to be adjusted, of course, we're going to look at that. But from our perspective, we really don't know what the barriers are, especially when before a person, a student, potential student enrolls in the process, we should be seeing their felony submission beforehand, which leads me to the January 22nd board meeting. I believe Ms. Bramo was at that meeting online, and Ms. McCoy was there assisting her petitioners. Erica Lozano is agenda item number 2. It was heard by you as a board. She was sworn in and testified that she had only about 100 hours left in the nail tech program, which there was some silence with the board. There was silence with staff. There was even silence with Ms. McCoy. I was sitting there. It's the first time I heard of Erica Lozano. I had not seen her felony submission at that time. And I didn't know there was a nail tech program out there. So the board eventually approved Ms. Lozano, but at that meeting, the board wanted that this felony submission process follow the proper procedure, not this retroactive approval. It means they need to be approved before they go in like any other person that has a felony, either in prison or not in prison. And I've done several that are not in prison. They have felonies from other states and they're going to schools. So this is the process that's followed. And even our DAG Harris said that we must must have consistent application of the law and regulations across the board for all schools, incarcerated or not incarcerated students. It must be the same. So that process is the same. Ms. Bramo has it at her other school. I don't know if she has felony submissions from that school. We can definitely look. Where somebody may come in from Texas and has a felony there, they have to submit that felony submission to me as executive director. It goes to staff and it gets to me. I review it. If I can approve it, I approve these things very quickly. I have 14 days. I do within 7 or shorter. So I go through these things. I take them seriously because I don't want to hold that student up, potential student, but also my job is to protect the public. And if I feel I can't approve it, I'll put it on an agenda. Ms. Bramo had mentioned about we have four meetings a year. That's minimal. We did 9 last year. So we actually do more than what the minimum is required because we do know about felony submissions. We do know that they do get behind me, and we do not want to prevent that student from getting into their school. I say program. So we had 9 last year, so we did more. It's at the discretion of the board to hold more meetings, but minimally by law, it's 4. Let's see. At that same meeting, I'm going to quote you, Madam President, or at least reference that the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology have a big presence in the schools to ensure compliance with the schools, students, and future licensees. And Board Member Moreno also added comments and concurred. So we're doing what the board has expected us to do. I was going to do it, I have been doing it anyway. I met with all the schools since I started in November of 22. So that was my job, that's where everything begins, is in the school. So if we get the schools in compliance and on track and training these students to be for advertising correctly and doing things while they're in school, being clean, having, getting good habits in providing their services, then that's 90% of the compliance areas that we have. So it's a good start for us to get into the schools. So it's for all the schools, and we're working with all the schools. I do want to do an overview of the testing. Back in December 30, as Ms. Bramo had testified, Pearson VUE is our national testing company. They won the contract through an RFP process. They bid like any other national company, and they won it here. So it's 2021, they got the contract to provide a national testing for Nevada law and Nevada theory in cosmetology, nails, and aesthetics. So they have been with us for almost 4 years now. So back in March of last year, 23, Nevada State Board staff did notify Ms. Bramo that the prison could be a testing site. So we're talking back in March of last year. December, staff notified Ms. McCoy that the prison located could be a testing center. Now, March 26 of 2024, about 3 months ago, which is a year ago that we notified the school that Ms. Bramwell had applied to Pearson View to become a online testing facility. Pearson View notified in April that that the information provided to them by the prison will be the owners of the computer equipment. The prison would need to sign those agreements. In May, so last month, petitioner notified Pearson View that the computers are not going to be provided by the prison. That expertise, Cosmetology New Pass, will be purchasing the equipment. Further notified Pearson View that the class of women had already graduated 2 months ago. The women that are now before you have already graduated. That same day, Pearson View, on the same day, notified Ms. Bramwell that to receive activation of the test center at the prison and signed documents, they must have computers in place because they will be downloading the computer software, which is their software, onto their laptops. The reason why Ms. Bramwell was just approved, June 4th, we were notified by Pearson View that they are approved to be a testing site out there. And to be a mobile testing site at that, they normally don't do that. You have to wait 90 days to be a testing site. They waived that requirement. So Pearson View notified us that the prison out there has been approved for cosmetology theory, for nail technology, and the Nevada State Law exam. Importantly, although NewPath applied for the nail technology online exam at the prison, as of today, board staff is still unaware that is there a nail program going on out there, and were they ever approved for a nail tech program? It is the board's pleasure. You can waive the regulations required if she wants to apply for a nail tech program. You can waive the requirements on an esthetician program at her school out there at NewPath. She's already has a cosmetology program. She already has a school out there that has this program. So, and she's gotten some variances. They're limited. There are 6 or 7 that we can find. Only the board can grant those variances. And once we found what they were, everything else applies. That means all the other regulations apply. That's why these are listed out here, saying which ones do you need, and let the board consider and deliberate on them. I'm sorry, my response is a little longer than I anticipated, Madam President. So we were speculating about the barriers, about the enrollment, and I want to apologize to Ms. Bramwell and Ms. McCoy on the glitch that happened, because you weren't notified, but neither were we. Our system that we actually use another system called Wix. It did not notify us that Ms. McCoy's enrollments had not gone in. And by Ms. McCoy checking, saying, hey, there's an issue with this, we went and checked, and we were not notified by them either. It was not us trying to hide something. So that's when Erica sent them an email saying that, yes, we have developed a new system. Well, what she meant was we got away from the old system that has been with us since 2015. Remember, I came in 2022. Because it didn't notify us, I canceled that. We have our own system. We developed it in-house. We wrote it in-house. So we do it now, and there's no glitch. I do felonies. I've been doing felony submissions for several days now, several weeks, and there's been no problem with felony submissions. So we're getting it, and that's what I wanted. She just may have misspoken, saying that we got this brand new system. No, what we did was the system's still the same. The process is still the same. You still got to submit it. Submit your felony submissions. We're just having you go, when you click on that tab in NVCosmo, it goes to what we developed internally a month ago. It doesn't go through Wix that's been going on since 2015. It doesn't go there anymore. It goes to our own internal system so I can see it. We all see it now. I get the email. So I know there's a felony submission sitting there in my email. So we fixed that problem. We fixed that glitch. And so all I can do is I'm in the chair right now. I can apologize for that, saying I wasn't notified by our vendor. And I apologize that you weren't either, that it wasn't rejected. And we tried to retrieve and we asked Wix to try to get it back. They could not. So we said, okay, we'll fix our own system. And unfortunately, we're going to ask Ms. McCoy to re-enter those things again. That's all I can do is say I apologize. With that, Madam President, we have a quick slideshow, and my apologies for taking too long. And we'll go from there. Be Lauren Gossage. Oh, and Madam President, as Lauren's getting prepared, Steve McDonald for the record, I'll add our summation at the end. And possibly if you ask for recommendations afterward, we'll provide those.
Okay, thank you.
Ren Bramer for the record, if I could speak again. Or you want to see the slideshow and then I can speak?
Yeah, let's finish with the board staff
Okay.
presentation, then we'll pop it back to you, okay?
Okay.
This is Janie Huggins, Chief Compliance Officer for the record. This is a timeline of information regarding Pearson VUE testing and how it relates to the school at Florence McClure. There was at one point the ability to issue a paper exam. We just were notified by the vendor that they do not offer that service anymore, which is why we've always encouraged the facility to become a testing center. It's not something that the vendor typically did. There's challenges that eventually caused it to become an obsolete process. This outlines the different steps that Ms. Bramo and the school have gone through to become a testing center. To our knowledge, to my knowledge, they have been approved. There is now a slight, I wouldn't even say delayed. The last component to this puzzle is the exams need to be essentially reconfigured to fit on the screen. There's some sort of issue, a technical issue relating to the firewall. We expect that to be done very soon and them to be online as a testing facility. This time frame is much shorter than it would be for board staff to locate and procure any type of paper exam, because such an exam doesn't exist, which is why it's not something that we offer. If we were to have to create an exam or find one and purchase one, that could take, it could take months depending on what the projected direction was if we had to write something from scratch. And so these are the emails that support that timeline, discussing the testing facility, that they can go on and look at the requirements from there. Again, go on and become a testing facility. These are emails from the vendor directly explaining what steps have been met, what goals have been met in this process for them to become a testing center. I think this is some communication again that is just discussing the paper testing. This is the application regarding the testing center. Just more documents, more emails to indicate where we got the information to create that timeline. Again, we believe that the facility will be up and running within probably a week, maybe 2 weeks, which would be substantially faster than us writing an exam or procuring a new exam to be done in paper. Regarding the school's approval, Ms. Bramo did come before the board back in 2016 and she was granted some variances, but unfortunately those variances aren't clear. So I think from a current board staff perspective, it would be very nice to have a crystal clean vote on what variances the school needs were granted, because it appears that she was granted various variances for equipment, but we're not confident on the dispensary sink, the restroom, the space, those other things. So this is the information that was included in the original application that was approved during that 2016 board meeting. This is a floor plan, which I believe might have been a proposed floor plan and not actually what was in there at the time, but it's all speculative because we're not exactly sure what was approved in that meeting. It's unclear. And then this is a floor plan that was submitted after the school was approved. And this is what the school looks like now. So I don't know if this is a separate space or if this is what was actually built out for the school. But confirmation on that would be requested for a clean record. So this is all documented going forward for the school to continue operating. This is the meeting minute transcripts where it's discussing the square footage of the school, which Ms. Bramo did guesstimate that it was around 300 square foot. I believe that's a pretty fair.
That's the old one, the old site.
The old one.
Mhm.
So then it could be larger then, right? Because the other room that I've been in was smaller, I believe.
In
The old-
2016.
Well, I wasn't in there, excuse me, in 2016, but I believe they took us into that room when I was there last. So it's the one down the hall,
Right
correct?
right when you walk in
Mhm.
to the left, it's like 3-4 times that size.
The current room.
Yes.
I've been in that room.
Yes.
So I would say, yeah, the old room might be about 300 square feet, but you are operating out of a bigger
Mhm.
facility now with, I think, more shampoo bowls than what you originally spoke about. This is in the equipment list from the original application in the 2016, where she was approved for these variances based on this equipment that the school would provide. This is more of that meeting, talking about the supplies that would be provided. I think because there was issue with getting this equipment in and out of the school because of the restrictions being in it. This is more testimony regarding the variances from the equipment approved, where it talks about what was going to actually be inside the school, what variances need to be approved, etc. This is more meeting minute testimony regarding the variances for equipment. And then the students, the 12 amounts of students where that number came up regarding the 6 in the morning, the 6 in the afternoon. These were the simplified minutes that you can find on the website, that the school was approved for a school license and variances relating to equipment to facilitate 12 students. This is the vote, I believe. Yes, this is the vote showing that the school was approved to be opened inside that facility inside Florence McClure with various variances on equipment and for the 12 students. Based on what we know about the school, they need these variances. The different ones, depending on what program the school wants, which programs the schools are wanting approval for, they'll need a number of variances from this category. Square footage, dispensary sink because they operate with shampoo bowls in lieu of a dispensary sink, and restrooms because they don't have restrooms for the public. And then anything that the school would be interested in relating to enrollment documents for the felony submissions. And I believe that is all we have for our slideshow.
Madam President, Steve McDonald for the record. I do just want to clarify just two things. At this meeting, it states in the minutes that Ms. Bramo was a member.
Oh, okay, good.
It says member Bramo. So that's why I thought that the extension
so
would have been
long
you. So that's one thing. The laptop, when the Pearson View uses the word republish, that just means for it to be able to fit on a laptop. And I think his name is Gordon, the product guy. He said that was new to them, of putting it on a laptop. Usually it's on a box with a stay there equipment, where actually with Miss Bramwell, she's gonna be immobile, so she could take it in and out of the prison. And putting it on a laptop, they don't do that, but they are republishing to make sure it fits and it looks right on the screen. So that way you can click the answers. It just has to look correct. So that's what he said by republishing it. And once you got the go ahead to republish it, then it should work. And so, but we were informed that that is happening and that they were approved by Jennifer Toomey at Pearson View. They are our contractor. We pay their bill. So of course, we're gonna have communications with them, and they let us know that Miss Bramo's school at that location was approved as a testing site. Thank-
Roxanne McCoy, for the record, my apologies, but it's almost count time. And as I started at the beginning of it, is it possible to talk to the students because they have to go back to their pods now?
Can I just say a few words and then like we can wrap it up? I just wanted to answer a few of those questions, Gwen Bramo, for the record.
Because everyone's like in essence pressed for time, it's really up to the board, Madam Chair, if you find that the testimony of the students is helpful, or if it's better to allocate more of the time on this agenda item really to hearing from Ms. Bramo as well as Ms. McCoy and any questions on board staff.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me, board member, how are we feeling? Are we getting clarification on the direction we're going, or do we have a lot of questions? Yeah, I have questions too.
But if it's, and if it's
Yeah.
questions more or less that they can handle, then I would recommend. more
Yeah,
people,
I don't
because
want to
there's
hold them
time.
up, but
Right.
I don't feel like we can wrap up this section yet, to be honest.
I'm not requesting to wrap it up. I just, I know that the students need to go before the board for their approval. And now they've been waiting since 9 o'clock, and so they have account time that they have to be accounted for. And so I'm asking if we could just stick a pin in where we are, talk to the students if you guys need to talk to them so that they can go to the areas that they need to go to.
Are any of them related to the agendas, to the agenda items right now, today?
Yeah, I think we were asking for approval on there, Gwen, were we not?
Yes, correct. They're all listed for
Okay.
petition.
Okay,
They're all
so
petitioners today, right? Yes.
what you could do is trail this particular agenda item and go to the students, but the only issue with that is determining whether or not you're gonna grant their petition also determines how you move on agenda item
Right.
1. So unfortunately, we have to go in this order.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I really some.
And then I would like to speak to make some clarity to some things too. I think the board needs to understand.
Okay, before, I'm sorry, Gwen, I just need to make sure is that we're gonna just release them to go and hopefully I can get them back.
The only other question I wanted to ask Ms. McCoy is either you or Ms. Gwen or both of you prepared to argue on behalf of them for their petitions, address any questions that the board may have?
Yes, I am. I will stay here. I just need to let them go. Is that okay?
Yes. Well, we can have them swear themselves in right now before they leave. Because what we can do is, before the students leave, we can have them swear that the information that they provided in their petition, basically on the same language of any oath, is fair and accurate. And in which, if they're allowing Ms. McCoy to argue the petition on their behalf, if they have to go, that doesn't stall their particular agenda items. Because really, when we have individuals testify, it's just to ensure that the documents that they submitted, they're providing that's fair and accurate on their end. And so long as we have that on a record, I don't have a concern with the board considering their petition with the particular petitioner's students in absentia, so long as Ms. McCoy and Ms. Bramo are able to address any questions the board might have. That's the best I can kind of offer on that.
So how would you like them to come in? Would you like them to come in just all together? Because I think there's like 15 of them, so is that okay?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
I was asking if it's okay for them to all come in at once right now? Or do you want them to come one in at a time?
Well, they will each, well, individuals could be sworn in at the same time,
Okay,
you know, because it's the same swearing.
okay.
So
They-
every.
They can all like have their hands raised, like their right hands raised, and they'll be sworn in, but in particular, if I could see that language, I'll probably, it'll be swearing, the language.
Thank you all.
Okay, so is everybody in the room?
Nope, they're coming. She has to go
Okay.
to another room. They're coming.
Okay, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tweak the oath a little bit.
Board Member O'Brien here, Doug Harris, if we had questions for the individual petitioners, would then just Ms. McCoy be answering those at this
Yes,
point?
so any questions regarding the petitioners would have to be
So you guys
based on the
kind of.
knowledge,
Come
based on
on.
either Ms. McCoy or Ms.
We may need to turn the camera a little bit. I'll give it.
Okay, so y'all need to like come all in so that they can see you as much as possible.
Can we do like a scan with the camera?
Well, the thing is, I know everybody may not be able to fit, but I'll be able to ask the questions.
Okay.
Just let me know when everybody's in. And the camera can sit still.
Okay. Okay.
Everybody's in.
Everybody's in?
Okay.
Okay, right now, can everybody please raise their right hand? And Ms. McCoy, can you confirm that all students that are inside the room have their right hand raised? Can you please confirm that?
Yes, all hands, right hands are raised, yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna do one oath. And then I just need everybody upon hearing the oath to say aye, okay? Is everyone ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
For all the students, so for all the students in the room, do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you shall give in this matter, as written and as argued by Ms. McCoy and Ms. Bramo on your behalf, shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please confirm your affirmation by saying I do.
I do.
Thank you. That should be sufficient. So that means any representations provided by.
I'll speak on behalf of here on out.
Thank you, ladies. We already submitted stuff, so I will get with you guys to let you know for sure tomorrow, okay? Okay. So go ahead, go back to your units or wherever you're supposed to be.
Close the room or you got it?
Huh?
Close the room, you got it?
I'll get it.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, ladies.
So I stated previously, as the matters related to the petitions are really dependent on how we address agenda item 1. I would recommend going forward with that. And then anything else subsequent, those related to those petitions, we have the free range to be able to move on that end with the expectation that either Ms. McCoy or Ms. Bramo, any questions that we have on the student petitioners will be able to address those questions.
Clarification as well.
Sure.
Board Member O'Brien here, even though they were sworn in as a collective group, we're still handling them individually.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bramo, you wanted to address the board for some follow-up, please?
Yes.
Please.
I want to follow up to what Director McDonald had to say, Gwen Bramo, for the record. I want us, the board, to be clear that those individuals that's actually were sworn in today have not started class. These are individuals that I spoke about at first, and it's unfortunate that we kind of lost and we're out of touch here. But these individuals that we spoke of just a few minutes ago are the ones that have been waiting since March and not able to do any programming. Those are not the ones that are waiting for testing. The ones that are waiting for testing is the ones that were approved previous from the board. Okay, so I wanted to clear that up because that kind of sounded like we still doing the same thing that was discussed, and that's not true. We haven't started any class. We're waiting to get them approved. Secondly, I'm happy to hear that Pearson View approved us because I wasn't notified. We were not, this is how far away that we are right now. And it's disheartening to me. And I think it's disheartening to Ms. Roxanne as well. We weren't notified that we will be testing in a week. The last email I got is we're still going through security clearance, and that was like Thursday, Friday of last week. So I didn't get any email stating that we were approved for those programs. So I'm happy to hear that. And if not, I would like to bring this matter back before the board for the July meeting. And then we can discuss that at that time. Okay, and then I wanted to talk about the inspecting. I think the last time the facility was inspected, the associate warden just kind of made it clear that you're welcome to do the inspections. We just have to be notified. Nobody gets to come in and out. The governor doesn't care who they are without notification. So all they have to do is not call us. They just call the Ms. Peterson is our contact person. They can talk to the warden. The warden, they have a list that they have, like a gatehouse list, but they put you on the gatehouse. I think Jamie is aware of that. It's a gatehouse list that's approved by the warden to say you can come in and out, and there's no problem with the inspection. We welcome State Board to come in and inspect. The space that was approved in 2016 was a small space that we had, but we also talked about it, and I did see it in the minutes where it was talked about. We eventually were hoping to get a larger space. We did start with 6 in the morning, 6 in the afternoon. I think the first class we graduated was 12 students. But since then we had a larger space and we've been graduating maybe every other year, 20-25 students out of 950 women that's housed inside the facility. So it's just a small amount of students that participate, that's selected as level 1 students that get to participate in the program. It's not like we have a program and it's free for all whoever wants to participate. This program is in conjunction with the Nevada Department of Corrections along with probation and parole. So everybody has to buy into that program. And now those supplies that was kind of discussed we talked about earlier on, we had to modify. 8 years later, we've modified that. We have to do a gatehouse list with our supplies, and the supplies are checked and approved before they're able to go in. And that's what we do every time we submit a new order to go inside the facility for practicing. Let me see, I made some notes. I think the biggest thing was I was happy to hear that we were approved because nobody ever told us. So we don't have the opportunity to even tell the state that we were approved. So I would like to get that copy of that document to be able to submit to them so that we can get prepared for that. And the reason, and the laptops will be left on property. We're not gonna take the laptops out of property. It's just that the prison doesn't have the particulars that they need to have this equipment. So we have to purchase the equipment, but the equipment will be left there and the ladies will be testing as they go. Far as the classes, we won't hold classes concurrent. If we're doing cosmetology right now, we won't do manicuring at the same time with cosmetology. If we do manicuring will be an evening program from maybe 2 to 7. We just haven't even have any new manicurists to sign in, but the ones that we're waiting to get approved are all cosmetology students. So if you have any other questions for me or Ms. Roxanne, we're here.
Thank you.
President Steve McDonald, for the record, the petition says that these petitioners have already completed and graduated. And this was also not just said to us through the petition, it was said to Pearson View in an email from Ms. Bramo saying that these have already graduated and they're 2 months sitting around basically.
Correct.
And so that's why you wanted the testing center to be expedited. So that way you can test them. So that's why that was one of the rushes that Pearson VUE was doing and why we actually jumped in to try to get it expedited, which you asked me to do, to expedite the testing process, the testing approval, be certified by Pearson VUE to be able to do that. So, it must be a miscommunication because based upon the petition, she says they've already completed and have graduated. And this is the first time that I saw them before they even enrolled.
Okay.
So I have not seen them until now.
I'm listening and I think there's a misunderstanding because the ladies that you just saw are the potential new students that are asking permission to start class. The previous class that has just graduated had already gone before the board, was already approved, and now they have completed the class. So if I'm misunderstanding, can you please clarify that?
Sure. Stephen Tom, for the record, the petition that we have, that we've read, it says that the 16 people that are on the agenda that you guys are petitioning for have already completed and graduated already. That's what your petition says. That's why we are under understanding that we have not seen them at all. It says they've already graduated. And also in an email from Ms. Bramo to Pearson VUE also says the same thing. I have several people that have already graduated and completed the program, waiting to test. So that's why I guess we are kind of confused because your own petition in your own writing says that.
Excuse me, Gwen Bramo for the record, so we can get clarity today before we leave here. Are the compliance officers, are you under the impression that the ones that we're hearing right now that just sworn in, are they waiting to test? Or are they waiting to start school?
This is Janie Huggins for the record. I think the confusion was they believed that the group getting board approval today for their felonies was waiting to test, and not that the ones that needed to be tested were the ones that received felony approvals from the board and the executive director in December and in the January meeting. Ish.
Roxanne McCoy, for the record, then there is maybe the petition was just done not correctly, I'm not sure. But the ladies that you just saw are current students waiting approval to be able to start class. The previous students that are waiting to test that graduated in December and January went before the board like a year and a half ago, and we went through that process online with Erica and Janie to get them to be able to, in the process, to be able to test. So we filled out all that paperwork and we did all those approvals online. So those ladies are waiting to test, but they are not the same ladies that was here before you this morning. Those previous students already went before the board, already received board approval, and they are just waiting to be able to test so that they could be licensed. The new ladies are brand new students waiting to start the class, if that helps.
Yes, Steve McDonald for the record. Thank you, Ms. McCoy. Thank you, Ms. Bramo, for clarifying that. It's just that they got convoluted in the same petition because they talk about people that have completed and have graduated, and now they're talking about people that are just waiting to enroll. So there's two different things that got put together, and that's not necessarily so.
Gwen Bramo for the record, we're talking about them both. We wanted to bring everything before the board today so that we don't have to keep asking to come back with new petitions. So let's just be clear for the record. All those names of those individuals that were already approved and went through the program and Jessica released them, those are the individuals that are waiting to test. The individuals that were just sworn in are the individuals that were selected in March to start the program.
So Dag Harris, excuse me, Dag Harris for the record. So when we're looking at Suzanne Ellers, Macfield, Lachey Macfield, Alita Cueva, Latoya Williams, Diana Corden, Imani Cook, Juanisha Brady, Oriana Cervantes, I apologize for butchering, Kedra Deshaun Watson, Emily Ikuda, Brenda Garcia, Margarita Balandova, Jasmine Ramirez, Blaze Bodu, Marley Matthews, Those individuals that are noticed on this agenda today, those are the ones that are seeking to, they're not graduated, they're seeking to be entered into.
Absolutely. Correct.
Well, the only hang up or issue with that is for the particular students that were purportedly graduated and that already received prior board approval. Unfortunately, it hasn't been properly noticed related to those students on the agenda. So the board is kind of binded by OML law. It can't take any action that's not properly noticed on the agenda. The only action that you can take that's properly noticed on this agenda is the ones that's out, the students that are listed out here. Of the students of whom I just read. So it's really it's a multitude of things that both the petitioners here and school owner and rep and registrar on behalf of the students can do. Because there's such a mix or convolution with what action you guys are seeking, with what action the board can even consider. You know, it's really determining if it wants to table this item altogether or consider what action it can take today that's properly noticed on the agenda. But if your request involves not only just the students who want to enter into the program, that's the only thing that's been properly noticed, but also the students that have technically graduated, but there's a hiccup with the documentation to support that, including the discussion of the nail program. I mean, I know it's been a lot of resources to bring everybody today, but it's really how you guys want to break it apart or hold it all together. But anything related to the students who have technically already graduated and want to be able to sit for final examination, that the board can't touch that today because it hasn't been properly noticed under OML.
Queen Bremo for the record, so we can have clarity, because I want to have clarity as well, and I think Ms. Roxanne does too. The only issue with the students that's already graduated is what I'm wanting the board to really understand was the Pearson VUE issue. That was the only issue. There was no other issue. They've already been approved by the board. They've already completed their program, Deputy AG. So that's not the issue anymore. Since Pearson VUE has approved us as a testing site, that's over with. So we can move forward as moving forward. I think we've settled that issue there. So we don't have those students listed because they've been approved already. They've already graduated the program. They've just been waiting for testing. Now that we are approved for a testing site, we can sign them up with Pearson VUE and with the state board oversight, and they can take their written exam. They've already passed their practicals. Their paperwork has already been submitted.
The matter does appear to be moot at this point related to the graduated students, but in the event, I don't know what will happen afterwards. Should there be any hiccups, you know, knocking on wood that it doesn't happen, but any hiccups that would require board action would need to be properly noticed and handled in a subsequent meeting. But
That's not a problem.
But it appears, it
That's
appears
not
to
a
be
problem.
settled, at least on that end. So the only thing that would be remaining are the students who want to enter into the program, but let me see. And it's approval for their felony conviction submission. Correct? That's the only thing.
And the documents have been submitted.
And you've had a chance to review and there's no issue with that?
Yeah, Steve McDonald for the record. Yes, I have reviewed all the felony submissions. That's on the agenda.
Yes.
Board Member O'Brien, Ms. McCoy, the petitioners that we're talking about, the 16 students, they're all enrolled in the cosmetology program. Oh, I can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Are you on mute?
I was, sorry.
Could you clarify the program that they're all in?
Roxanne McCoy for the record, they are wanting to be cosmetology students. So that is what we have selected them for, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Executive Director McDonald, you did state for the record that you reviewed them as you would any other felony petitioner, you've gone through the process and you kicked it over to us for board approval, right?
Yes, Madam
Okay.
Chair, Steve McDonald for the record. Yes.
Got it. Okay, cool. So then, board members, as far as those 16 students, it would be just like any other felony petition. It would just be straightforward, like looking over the documents as we already reviewed, going forward with kind of, any questions that we would have, things like that, but they are not graduated. So we don't have to ask any of those questions we might have had in our minds. These are students going into a program
And
for
then also,
clarification.
just so that we're clear, because any prior hangups as far as like pre-approval of licensing was really discussed on the nail aspect. All of these students listed on the agenda is solely for the cosmetology program, correct? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Madam Chair, Steve McDonald, because back in January,
Mhm.
testimony from the petitioner was for the nail tech program.
Yes.
That's her testimony. So we're definitely glad that we have that clarification
Yes.
that it is for the cosmetology program today. Thank you so much.
Okay. Ms. Bramo, on the application for your testing facility, you did ask for approval to test for the nail program. Do you guys provide a nail program at this time?
We're not
Sure.
providing it now because we didn't have
So
approval,
you're
but
looking for future?
Gwen Bramo, for the record, because we're a licensed cosmetology school, I wasn't aware that we couldn't have a short-term nail program. But now that we are aware of it, we haven't made application, we haven't submitted. They put like kind of like a RFP type of situation where they can sign up. We haven't done that. We just stuck with cosmetology until we can move forward and get approval from board.
Okay. Board Member O'Brien, a follow-up to that. Are you interested or have any future plans of adding aesthetics into that as well?
Well, I mean, if we're gonna be here before the board, I would like to be, I would like the New Path Cosmetology School to be treated as a school. I know we have like limited, space, but we wouldn't mix cosmetology with esthetician or esthetician with nails. We will have one separate program. So if we decide to do an esthetician program, it would be just estheticians, and then we would do another program until after, because that's how it's actually set up.
Okay, gotcha. And then just for clarification, we would need just 2 applications for those programs to come through, making sure that all of that was done. Would board staff, would this be something that they're able to do in the current facility as far as square footage, all of that? Does everything line up?
This is Janie Huggins for the record. If the board approved the variances that were needed for those programs, yes, we could receive the paperwork for that and
Got it.
issue the license with each program.
And Board Member O'Brien, apologies, and maybe I'm speaking for some of our board members too. I'm just thoroughly confused. Are we looking for those variances today for those programs? Or like, there's just so many variances listed, like, I'm not really sure, like, what we're supposed to be
Yeah.
like focusing in on and.
If I may, Madam President, Steve McDonald for the record. We were just basically looking at the petition and you are correct. It is that there were a lot of regulations, but they got narrowed down.
Yeah,
But it's mainly for the approved program out there that they would be asking for variances, because no application has been submitted to board staff to review for the nail tech program or for the esthetician program. And then after that, once board staff will review the application, work with Ms. Bramo and Ms. McCoy, and then we could identify and guide actually what variances would be needed
Okay.
as board staff is supposed to do. We would definitely work with Ms. Bramo and Ms. McCoy on that.
okay.
And that way that could be brought to you. So that way you have, Ms. Bramo requesting approval based upon what variances that she would request.
Okay, and apologies, Board Member O'Brien, once more, I might have summer brain here, but could board staff let us know what our job is for voting today? What are we voting on? Besides the 16 students?
It would,
So if you, put- it's
Do we
like,
have
I don't know
anything?
if Lauren can pull it up, but it's, the second part of their petition. The attachment, because that clarifies, that narrowed it down.
And this is Janie Huggins for the record. I think for the school that Ms. Bramo was initially approved for, because the paperwork back then isn't clear, it would be helpful for all parties going forward that the cosmetology program gets an approval to operate. So they would need an approval for a variance for the dispensary sink, for the restrooms, for the equipment to offer cosmetology and for square footage. Which would be various variances for NAC 644A 603 for the cosmetology program. NAC 644A 600 for the minimum minimum requirements for space and accommodations. I believe a dispensary sink is 644A. I can look it up instead of guessing, but it should be 725. And a NAS 644A 720 for the restroom.
Okay.
715 for the restroom.
Well, Steve McDonald, for the record, do we have all that information? Do we know where the bathroom is, how far the bathroom is from the facility now?
No, we don't, but I don't believe there is a dedicated bathroom for this is Janie Higgins for the record, for the facility because they have restrooms only in their cells, correct?
No, they have restrooms on every hall.
Okay.
Gwen Bramo for the record, they have restrooms on every hall, and the part of being incarcerated, still, you don't get to go to the restroom by yourself. So they have officers that come and take the individuals to the restroom, and the restrooms are right across the hall. So,
Board Member O'Brien, I'm so sorry to cut you off. Absolutely, that makes 100%. Sure, I think that just clarifies that we really don't know what's going on. Typically, when we are asking for variances, isn't an inspection done prior?
This is Janie Higgins for the record. In some cases, we do an inspection prior. This school has received inspections, but there's no way for us to give you an accurate count on the square footage
Right.
or the feet from the restroom because we can't bring a wheel in there.
Right. And it's a
So
little different anyway with them not being able to use it on their own. I
Absolutely.
totally get that.
absolutely.
Are we able to, is board staff able to give an opinion on approving these variances without having gone in for a while and seeing them?
For the cosmetology program,
Yeah.
I believe we would recommend that they can be approved because
Okay.
the program
helpful.
was originally approved by the board. It just wasn't approved in a very clear manner. It left a lot of questions, which is part of the reason why we're here now. So the variances relating to the cosmetology program, I believe it was the board's intent back in 2016 to just approve it.
Okay.
They maybe didn't have these requirements back then, or it wasn't thought of. It's an afterthought.
And then also, just to Dag Harris for the record, when I looked at the prior minutes that explained the variance that was granted, I think it will be clear moving forward for any variance that is granted to specifically lay out the particular regulation, not just say, you can get this, you can get that, and then leave members of board staff and board council to try to figure out which regulation each variance applies to. So I just want to be clear, we'll be looking at, and I'm just going to do 0.603, but understand that the prior language of NAC 644A is before that.
Mhm.
I have 0.603, 600, 725, and 715. I just want to make sure that those are the only four that are needed for a board approval. Because I believe there's some prior reference to 250 and 270. I don't know why I have that written, but I saw that somewhere.
This is Lauren Gossage for the record. The two NAC 644A 270 is in the supporting statement attached. So if you'd like, I can pull up each NAC on the screen and we can review them, and the board members can review them, and then you can determine what from that particular regulation you are approving a variance to. That way it's clear for the record.
Okay. And then this is Janie Higgins for the record. I believe those last two NACs were relating to the testing issue.
Okay,
Which
so
is
they're moved at this
Yes.
point. Perfect.
Correct.
All right, so to clear it out and chop it down to something that's more digestible for the board, and thank you for your patience on this. The four regulations that are up for determination, right for determination for the board is NAC 644A 603, 600, 725, and 715. That's all that's right for this particular agenda item, and then afterwards, we can move on to the individual felony position.
Okay. Thank you, everyone for clearing
Yeah.
that up.
Of course, of course.
Now, just to make clarity, it's only for the cosmetology program.
Yes,
Correct. Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
This is Board Member Harris. I would just like to clarify for information purposes, what exactly, when you say cosmetology, because normally cosmetology in a regular school is hair, skin, and nails. But with this, you're saying cosmetology, and you have to get a nail and esthetician and skin?
Well, we wanted to be able to do short-term programs, and I think that was one, Gwen Bramo for the record, that was one of my biggest issues, is why do we have to come back to the board for for nail technology or esthetician when we are a licensed cosmetology school, hold the same license, pay the same fee, unless we're gonna get a discount on our fees.
Yeah.
Why do we have to come back here to be able to separate a program when we're a licensed cosmetology school, which clearly was approved by legislation that there are accommodations for schools, and I think that's the regulation we probably should put up, what the legislators have already approved for a correctional facility or school inside a correctional facility. I think this is where we are all baffled.
This is Janie Huggins for the record. Lauren can pull up the regulation that speaks to schools inside correctional facilities. But to clarify for everyone, every program in a school, including cosmetology and then the smaller programs, have different requirements. They have different requirements for square footage, equipment, et cetera. So that's the only reason why, just to get the additional variances for the equipment and the square footage for those specific programs. I can confirm that she has definitely, during the inspections that I have been at that school, they have nail supplies and equipment as part of a cosmetology program. I've seen the students in the program actively engaging in the curriculum specific to nails. They just, as a matter of paperwork and a clean record, need variances for the equipment that they wouldn't have that are required in regulation for a nail technology program and a aesthetic program if that's what the school wishes to offer.
This is Board Member Douglas. I'd like to know if Roxanne, that staff at the facility, can she help you guys with like the square footage? Like you said, you can't take any equipment in there. Can she help out, or can someone help as far as trying to take the measurements and what the facility looks like so she can get approved, or how do you guys figure that out?
So Roxanne McCoy, for the record, you're absolutely correct. All they ask for is just to let them know when they want to come. They can't bring in cell phones, nobody can, but they're welcome to have the facility say, hey, I want to bring in the measuring tape, or the facility could get that done by their maintenance people. The people that work here have cameras, and they could take the pictures for them if they needed to, and then email them to them. We just can't bring it in. I can't bring it in. They can't bring it in. But I welcome you all to come here at any time once we set it up with the facility, to come and see what it actually looks like. And it will give everybody a clearer picture and understand exactly what takes place in this particular class. And so I welcome that when I offer you that opportunity. But to answer your question, we can get that information. They have maintenance here that can measure for them, but they will allow them to bring in whatever things they use to measure. We have nothing that we want you guys to not know.
Madam Chair, Steve McDonald for the record. It would be part of the typical application process. We do get all the information, how the program is going to work. We actually get leases from shopping centers. The prison is the NDOC, we'll call it that, NDOC. They're their landlord. So we would actually get a copy of their lease. I mean, it's not their facility. They have an agreement with the Nevada Department of Corrections that has what time period that they're there, what restrictions that they're under, just like in anything. In a shopping center, I used to work for a developer, same thing. There's a lease that even the developer or the owner of that shopping center can have restrictions on your lease. So we don't know what those restrictions are. We don't have any of that documentation. That's why Ms. Huggins had just stated that we don't have a lot of that paperwork because we really don't know what the board considered back in 2016. It's not there. We wouldn't be here before you. Ms. Bramo wouldn't have had to file a petition had there been a clean file of paperwork. So that's why we're here, is to gather information, work with Ms. Bramo, work with Ms. McCoy to get their file cleaned up and in compliance that the state board has. That's all. It's not anything personal, anything like that at all.
But I don't
But
think we're
Roxanne
here.
McCoy, Roxanne McCoy for the record.
That's not
Roxanne McCoy for the record. I'm sorry, Glenn. All we have to do is, this continues to go back to a lack of communication. Request that from us and we will do everything that we can to get you that information. If the prison has that information that they can give to us, but right now we're here saying you don't have it, but that information has not been requested. And so we can all see that that took place back in 2016. But at what point does the state board have a responsibility to say, hey, I need some updated stuff? And nobody has requested that of us, and it has not been stated to us before right now at this meeting when we're requesting the variances that we're requesting. So I feel that it's a little unfair and we're being painted in a disingenuous way because we have tried to comply with everything that has been requested of us under extraordinary circumstances. If you guys request permission to come in, we contact the facility, they allow you in. If you need to do measurements, anything that you need in order to make you whole and complete so that we're whole and complete, nobody is withholding that from you.
This is Board Member Douglas. I understand that, but I'm looking at the fact where they said you move facilities, and normally when you move facilities, your license is only good for that facility that you left. So you have to renew, and you have to get another license for the new facility.
No.
Yeah, I know that because I have a business. So it tells you on your license.
Gwen Bramo for the record. We didn't move buildings, we moved next door. So if there's an address, it's still the same address. So we just want clarity. Because
No, I understand,
we
but I'm just-
didn't change addresses, board. Let's get this understood before we move any further. We moved to a bigger space next door. So if we need to submit a new floor plan because there's been inspections done, we don't have a problem submitting another floor plan. Just tell us what's required. We're here for petitions, not for a renewal of lease because it's a state facility. We don't have a lease. It's a partnership. It's an agreement. So if whatever we need, this is what we're asking the board today. Let us know what we need to submit to you so that we can submit. If it's showing the bigger space, if they didn't get a chance to measure or take pictures when they did the last inspection, because I think they did an inspection beginning of the year or last year. So, and it's the same space. So we weren't aware that they didn't have all that because they did an inspection. Board, does that make sense?
This is Board Member Douglas. So have you, I mean, the way you're talking is like you never reached out to the staff for clarity. So have you reached out to the staff? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Right. Well, I'm not sure of what clarity that needs to be because when they needed an inspection, it was done. So I'm not quite sure of what clarity I need to give to the staff. I'm willing to, we work with the staff. We worked with the staff for many years, the same two ladies. We worked with
So
them from the
there's
very
been no
beginning.
reach.
So I'm confused as well.
Okay.
Oh.
So Miss,
I'm sorry, Board Member Douglas, Steve McDonald for the record. We do not notify Ms. Bramo that we're doing an inspection. We notify the warden and then they let us in. The last inspection was done that way. We don't, they don't require us to notify the
Right.
owner of the business. I mean, no, just like we do with any other inspection, we don't call the owner and say, we're coming out to do an inspection of you. We notify the warden because it's their facility and their prison, and they let us in. And that was very accommodating because we're both state employees, and they know why we're there. But that's not the process, at least since I've been here, that we would notify Ms. Brandon as the owner. We go in and do the inspection and they let us in. Okay.
Board Member O'Brien here. I think the issue that we're having right now is we need new variances, which is what the petition is for space, for student capacity, and for equipment. Because in 2016, when the program was approved, it was approved for, I don't even want to put it on the record, certain other variances that now have changed. And so now it's the board's job to determine if we're going to allow those variances that they're now operating under, which is more students, bigger space, kind of what you were getting at, why they didn't have the, why they're in a new space where the variance was applied to that licensure in the other space. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm still hung up, and I'm so sorry because you guys know I'm detail oriented, and I'm still hung up on one thing, and it's just, we keep saying the record is unclear. We keep saying that we don't know the square footage. We don't know what they have in there, what's going on. Are we going to know that if we do this right now? Because are you guys able to tell us the square footage that you're in right now? Are you able to tell us kind of like how much equipment that you need variances on? Like what equipment you need variances on? Are we able to do that today?
This is Janie Huggins for the record. I could not tell you the square footage if Miss Bramo could, but I can tell you what room they are approved in, and I can point out the floor plan that we have that was provided at some point from the school. I can tell you with certainty that that is the room that the school is operating out of.
Follow up to you. If we're like, yes, let's grant the petition for the variance of the square footage, are you then able to go get the document from the landlord and put in the actual square footage so it's in there, it's clear, so that in 5 years when something else gets petitioned, we're not unclear where we're having to look back at 2016 again?
This is Janie Huggins for the record. Absolutely.
Okay, Dag Harris, is this something that the board can be like, yes, we want to approve this petition with these variances under the guidance that staff and Ms. Bramo work together to get all of the minute details put into their file so that it's a clear record?
Yeah.
How would that work?
How would it work? It would be, if the board is inclined to grant the variances and specifically lay out each particular regulation for which the variance is being applied, it could be a motion to approve the requested variances as listed, contingent on board staff confirming that the school will still be in compliance and that board staff is in the receipt of the required documentation proving compliance.
Thank you. Board staff follow up again. Would that be something that you guys would see sufficient to the record? Would that be something that you guys were able to complete and do?
Steve McDonald for the record. Yes.
Okay.
And I would also add that as part of your motion, that in the event that board staff does happen to come across an issue where there would be a problem with compliance, that they would be required to bring it back to the board's attention, properly noticing Ms. Bramo and Ms. McCoy as well, to be able to address that issue. But there's a motion that could be all encompassing.
Awesome.
And I think for just purposes of the record, I can help to write out the motion.
Wonderful.
And once I state out the motion that this appears what the motion is, then I just need a member of the board to just say so moved and then get somebody to do the second.
Wonderful.
Because I
Thank
know
you.
it's going to be a lot to kind of.
That way we have it
goes
properly
through.
worded on the record. I love that. Board members, Board Member O'Brien, for the record. Basically what we're doing is we would just blanket statement the petition and give the contingency to the board staff for making sure that all of those minute details are covered. I would be okay in making that petition based on the fact that everything seems to be growing at New Path. It seems their space has gotten bigger, not smaller, which to me would be a red flag and something I'd be like, I don't know that that could, be a good thing. They want to enroll more students, which means that there's an interest in that and that the program, I don't want to say for the record or confidently, but to me, that would indicate popularity and, that it's a good program and something that the women at the facility are interested in taking. Things like equipment and stuff like that, we could leave to our board staff, to make sure that it's accommodating those 25 students, making sure that they are getting all the things that they needed, supplies that they needed, so that those 25 students are having all of the supplies that they need to have a good education where they can go out into the public and serve our community well. But I think for the most part, my opinion on that would be a positive one, that I think this would be a good petition to grant. What are you guys' thoughts?
Thank you, Madam President. I have one more question for.
Go for it.
Before we grant these, variances.
Mhm.
Once again, in your school, cosmetology you're doing right now is only hair.
No, we do skin and nail. We have to do the whole cosmetology program, Gwen Bramo for the record.
Okay, that's what I thought cosmetology was.
Yes.
So why does she need nails and skin to add on? I don't understand that.
No, that's just saying
This-
she does shoot.
This is Janie for the record. A school that is approved initially as a cosmetology school has one set of requirements. If they wanted to add on additional programs, even though they have been teaching those services under the cosmetology, there's individual requirements for those programs. So that's the only reason. She has been doing nails and skin, to my knowledge, out at the school at Florence McClure. But those, to have that, for students to only enroll in those specific shorter programs and to have it on the license, it's
Oh, I
specific
see.
requirements
Okay,
that they would need approval
got
of variances to do.
okay, thank you so much. Back to you, Madam President.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
You're so funny. Do we have any more questions? Any concerns for the record? No, I just agree with Dr. Harris. If anything does come up, which I know, can happen in these situations, we should just make sure that it comes back before the board for review.
Just to confirm if there's any contribution by Ms. Jeffers as well, because she's in the north. I want to make sure she's not left out.
Yes, Ms. Jeffers, hi. Any contribution or questions or concerns?
No, I agree with what you had said about, it seems like it's a good direction for this
Yeah.
program, so.
Very good. Yes, William, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Yes, board
Yes.
member Detry. I'd like to possibly, if we could put that somehow in here, that the school is inspected within a reasonable amount of time.
Mhm.
Because
What's
I
a
just
reasonable
think,
amount of time?
and it's no disrespect to you, I think you presented a great situation here that's beautiful for all the people that are involved. But I just think it's such a long period of time that nobody's really set eyes on other people we went last year. And we have just a general idea of what's going on. Because
Absolutely.
I just feel like
Yeah.
it's so vague.
Yeah, it's a good time with granting
Yeah.
some variances and
Let's
getting it on the
just
record.
have some
Absolutely.
Additional information.
What
Just a
time frame
little
would you
bit.
like to see that in?
Well, I don't know about your staff, 3 to 6 months.
This is Janie Huggins for the record. All schools are now set to be inspected once per quarter,
Okay.
Mhm.
That answers my question.
including this
So
school.
they're on the schedule.
Yes, but
Okay.
Steve McDonald for the record, especially with looking at the variances as we would do with any other school, we would normally go out and do an inspection
Okay.
to make sure that the school is part of the
Mhm.
variances that they're saying, that the request.
Okay. Awesome.
Before
And
you
then,
make your motion, Gwen Bramo for the record. We don't have a problem with the inspections. We encourage the inspections. I mean, in the past, all you have to do, you don't contact us like Director McDonald said, we don't know when you're inspecting it. We don't really care. We have 2 licensed instructors, so it didn't do us well to have 2 licensed instructors with 12 students. I mean, no, because Director McDonald likes to reference the other schools. No school have 2 instructors with 12 students. So we want to just be treated just like all the other cosmetology schools that's located on the outside throughout the state.
no problem. Agreed. Everybody should be treated equally. Love that. Would you help us with the motion?
So I have a proposed motion.
Yes.
And if it hits everywhere that you're ideally wanting to hit, then I just need a board member to say so moved. That way it's confirmed on the record that how I frame the motion is how you're requesting the motion to be.
I'm so sorry. Prior to doing that, can I just put one thing on the record?
Sure.
Going forward, if you guys do move or like adjust rooms or anything like that, can you let the board know prior to doing that, just so that we have that clean record of tracking and everything? And so maybe we can avoid this situation going forward.
Well, I wasn't aware that the
Yeah.
board didn't know. I mean, because staff was there, they do inspections on a regular basis, but you know what? I apologize for that. I'll make sure that if we move to a bigger space, then you guys will know.
And we do hope that happens for you one day.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Very
Okay.
good.
The
Okay.
only other question is that I have, for purposes of this motion, when board staff requests certain documentation, what's a fair, or what's a turnaround time that you think that they should be able to provide the documentation? How much are we talking? Is it like 2 months, 3 months? I'm a,
This is board member Douglas. Does it really take that long to submit paperwork if you already have it?
well, I just want it on the record, so I'm thinking like,
days?
I'm thinking if the board is inclined to require that there's an inspection done within 3 months, that there should also be a cutoff point for where board staff can reasonably expect that if we're requesting this documentation, we should have it in receipt. I can put in the motion a 3-month time frame as well, if the
Okay.
board is inclined.
Can
And
I
if-
ask a question? What type of documents? What the board could
Well,
be, the
just-
staff could be requesting?
Well, it would be like the documentation establishing, let's see. If there's any additional documentation regarding the space accommodations, the equipment, registration. Also pull up here, because it also mentions 7.
Because the
It's- it's-
registration is done before they start.
Yeah.
And that documentation, oh, then I wanted to make a comment to that. The Nevada Department of Corrections actually give us the documents that the participants don't actually have the documents that's required. And then, so I think now, Ms. Peterson is involved. She's CC'd on all the emails and she's case management for Florence McClure. And she makes sure Roxanne gets all the documents for the individuals and then they're submitted that way. Because we don't have access to those documents.
It would only be the documentation relative to the regulations for which you would be granted the.
If requested some
granted-
document.
Granted the variances.
Okay.
So, and as well as including 725 for plumbing and 720 for walls, floor, ceilings. And that's what I need, the supplemental documentation that the board may need upon their review in the event that it pops up, just for clarification.
Okay.
And I just wanted to add a time frame for when they requested, at least that time frame of when it should come
Not a
back.
problem.
All right. So if the board is ready, I can provide a recommended motion. It'll be long, so I want everybody to hear. And if it's agreeable, then I just need somebody to say so moved, and then we'll need a second.
Madam Chair, let me talk to
Yes,
council
go ahead.
here. It should be 7:15 and 7:25.
I have that here. Yeah. All right, are we ready?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the motion, it would be a motion to approve petitioner Gwen Bramo and Roxanne McCoy's petition for the variance applied to NAC 644A 603, NAC 644A 600, NAC 644A 725, NAC 644A 715. Is 610 included as well? Yes, okay, I'll say it again. So it will be the motion to approve petitioner Gwen Bramo and Roxanne and Roxanne McCoy's petition for the variances applied to NAC 644A 610, NAC 644A 603, NAC 644A 600, NAC 644A 725, and NAC 644A 715, contingent on board staff conducting a follow-up inspection within 3 months of today's hearing. Also contingent on any documentation requested by board staff applicable to the approved variances be provided from the date of request within 3 months to board staff. Also contingent on any, should board staff find any issues with compliance, for the matter to be re-noticed for a future board meeting for a future public meeting with the board. That's the motion. Okay.
Can I get a second?
Board Member Harris, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, so that is voted on. Dr. Harris, do we need to mention any of the petitions that were not approved, like the NRS or anything like that?
No.
We just let those fall
No,
off?
the motion
Okay.
says, the motion.
Perfect.
The motion says it clearly.
Perfect, okay. And then now we can move on to the 16 students,
Yes,
correct?
now here's the thing because it is like quite a lot if you want to take
Mhm.
a 10-minute break and then come back. In my recommendation, because remember, you could decide an agenda item one by one. You can also group them all
Yeah.
together. I think it might be prudent to review all of the petitioners, because I think that we'll likely hear similar information. And at that point, hear any representation by board staff if they have any concerns.
Okay.
And then if they don't, you can still save it for one motion at
Mhm.
the end to decide whether to grant, or approve whichever. But that's my recommendation as far as like conducting the rest of the meeting. Go ahead.
Gwen Bramo, I just wanted to be clear because I've heard the motion and now I'm a little confused. So with the 15 participants that's coming before you that's already in the cosmetology program. So whoever's approved today with the 9 that was already approved by Director McDonald, there's not a problem with us starting class for the cosmetology students, correct? Okay.
Yeah,
I just
definitely the
wanted to
ones
be
that I've
clear.
approved, they can go ahead and enroll.
Okay,
So
I
even
just
tell
wanted
them
to
for
be
the record,
clear.
the ones that I approved can go ahead and go through.
And the
It's the
ones that,
ones that I didn't approve have to go before the board. and-
okay,
Okay,
I just want to be clear.
thank you.
And then, board members, have we had time to review the documents in board pack? For all of them? Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you
Yeah,
can go
we,
forward now.
we, got the documentation last week, so we were able to kind of go through everything. Did anybody have any questions? I think my only questions were pertaining to with the word graduated, but now that we cleared that up, that they haven't even gone through the program, my questions kind of went out the window.
Okay.
It became
Okay.
a little clearer
So
to
if
me.
it-
Yeah.
Okay, so if you don't have any questions for board staff, then that means the rest of the agenda items from E2 all the way through, I believe E16
Mhm.
appear to be right for motion if the board has already had an opportunity to review.
Just checking in with Ms. Wheeling up in Reno. Were you also able to review the documents in board pack prior to today for these petitioners?
Yes, I was.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Didn't want to leave you out.
Thank you.
And then does anyone have any questions for board staff pertaining to these petitioners? Okay. I mean, I guess the only thing left to do is motion. Then. Can we do a group motion on them?
Yeah,
Yeah?
you can. It would
Okay.
be, if the board is inclined to grant, it would be a motion to approve petition items E2 through E16.
Okay.
That would be the motion. So if
Okay.
that's the one that somebody wants to adopt, again, I just need to hear the so moved.
Okay. Mhm, Yep.
This is board
Well,
member.
I already provided it. It would be,
Oh, so moved.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Board
it.
Member Harris, I second that motion.
Oh, no, you gotta say. so
Oh, I'm
moved,
sorry.
So moved.
Oh, so she said so moved.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm
She
sorry.
just said her name first.
This is board member Douglas. I so moved.
Can I get a second?
This is Board Member Harris, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
Alright.
you. board
Thank
staff,
you.
and then board
All
members
right.
and
I
chair.
might as well finish now.
And then, yeah. All right, moving on, is there any miscellaneous agenda items for board staff to present? No? Okay,
No, Madam Chair, Steve McDonald for the record.
okay, thank you. Let's move on to comments from the general public for discussion only. The board will entertain comments from the general public for any item that is related to the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology. Members of the public can call into the meeting to make public comments by dialing 1-720-707-2699 and entering 834-5411-4223 for meeting ID. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and no discussion or action can be taken during public comment. Do we have any public comment at this time?
Roxanne McCoy, I do.
Oh, yes, please, go ahead.
I would just like to say that I thank you guys for your time this morning and listening to all the information that was brought about. Once again, I welcome any of you that would like to take a tour of our New Path program to come on down. Let us know when you want to come and you can take a look at the class firsthand. But more importantly, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your openness, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to continue the work that we've been doing.
Thank you so much. That was such a kind public comment. We appreciate the invite and we appreciate the work you do with your students.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I have a public comment. Gwen Bramer for the record. I just wanted, I know it's election, law review time coming up. And I would like to make sure that we're notified when you have law review meetings so that we could participate to see how we can maybe improve some things, or maybe we can work together before legislation meets again for January.
Very good. Thank you so much. Any other public comment? Okay, moving on to comments from board members. The board will entertain comments from board members for any item that is or is not on the published agenda and is related to the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology. No action can be taken on a matter unless it is included on the agenda. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes or less. Any public comment from any of our board members? All right, then I move for adjournment. I always mess this part up. Thank you. That's the part I always mess up. Thank you. All right, we're going to close out the meeting at 11:16 on June 17th, 2024. Thank you everyone for your time, and we hope you have a great week.
Thank you.
Hello?
Oh, hello.
I'm so sorry. I thought we were talking about the appeals. Grandma, hold on. I had put an appeal because I had got 2 citations.
Oh,
And-
no, not for today. If you want to reach out to board staff, they can assist you for figuring out when you're going to be on that agenda, okay?
Jesus. Okay. It was a good meeting.
All right, thank you so much. Have a good one.
Okay.
All right, very good.